Welcome back to Books, Tea and Biscuits with me, Jojo.
And me, Kim.
Today is our June review, and the books we're going to be reviewing, I'm going to be reviewing by V.E. Schwab, A Darker Shade of Magic, and Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson.
I can't wait to read that one.
And Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. So even though I haven't totally finished this, but I've almost finished it, and we never give you the ending of the book, so it's not a problem. This is actually part of like a series, so I've got to get that as well. Where is it? These are the others.
Yeah.
Gather in the Shadows and A Country of Light. Got to get
That'll be
them
good.
because they follow on from
Yeah.
that. So those are mine.
And then I'll be reviewing, as much as I can, Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings, The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith, and I've got a funny story about this one, so I'm actually reviewing about 2.5 books. When we get into that, I'll let you know. And partly because I haven't quite finished The Invisible, I forgot the name then, The Invisible Life of Addie by V.E. Schwab. So if you go first, Jo, with your first one.
Right. Now, A Darker Shade of Magic. This is definitely a science fiction, fantasy, thriller-ish type book. It starts off quite interesting. You've got this chappie whose name is Kel, and there's only 2 of them in the world, universe, whatever, and they're able to go from one world into a parallel world, into another parallel world, and the other guy is called, is it Hurricane or something like that? I'll find his name out in a bit, or you can put it there.
Yeah, well.
It starts off really weird, like this chappie, Kel, and he's going through this place and he takes his coat off, and his coat is turned into 8 different types of coats, and he's got pockets in and everywhere, so he changes his coat depending on which parallel world he's in so that he fits in. And there are 4 different Londons.
Yeah.
And they're not normally called England or Earth. I mean, he's on Earth, but he goes into this parallel world, which is Red London, which is where he lives. And Red London knows about magic and understands magic, and magic is the royal family, and not all the royal family, basically him. He was sort of adopted by the king and the queen, but they own him, really, they own him. And the prince actually looks on him as a brother, and they class him as part of the family, but technically he's not part of the family. And then there's Grey London, which is like it sounds, not
small.
Yeah, sort of, but like the equivalent of what London would be in England, that sort of London. And then there's White London, which is not how it sounds. You normally say good and bad, and White London's not like White London's bad. White London has people that are trying to get Black London opened up again. Now, Black London was full of the wrong kind of magic, and those in Red London managed to close it. So they closed Black London, so you couldn't go into Black London if you have the ability to go parallel universe or whatever. And they closed it and blocked it and put magical things on it. But the king and queen in White London have found this stone, which was part of Black London, so it's opening up the evil again. And they want to rule all the parallel universe. They're not nice people, and they live in White London. So they manage to con their way. The prince, Kel's brother, it's his 21st birthday, something like that. So they're having a big party, and everybody in Red London's been invited to the ball. So they can't go into the actual palace, but it's all like in the grounds and everything. And Kel, there's this pickpocket, this thief who's a female, and she's, you know, going around, she picks pockets or whatever, and she's got no family to speak of, basically brought herself up. And he, Kel, was conned. He's in Grey London or White London, and this woman runs up to him, not this pickpocket, but another woman runs up to him and says, "Will you please take this into Red London and give it my brother who got separated from me and he's dying," or whatever. And he realises it's this weird stone, and he sees this other strange person who comes after him. It's a setup, it's to get him and the stone, and he gets injured because he wasn't expecting the trap. And she comes along, sees him and he's bleeding and everything. She gets her handkerchief and she mops him. She says, "Are you all right?" And walks away. And when he gets a certain distance, he realises she's nicked the stone, right? So when she gave him the tissue, she picked his pocket. And while she was picking his pocket, she was thinking, "What's all these pockets?" You know. So she picked his pocket and got this strange stone, but she doesn't know what she's got, and it's evil. And he finds out because it's her hanky, and he can open doorways using his blood because he has blood magic, and only two Asinis, I think they're called. There's only two in the world. There's him and the other guy, and they can open doorways using blood. And of course, she'd mopped his blood with this tissue, handkerchief. So he gets the handkerchief because it's got her, you know, on it, really. A trace of her, and he manages to make a doorway into her room in this inn, and she's going, "How did you get in here?" sort of thing. And the next thing, she's knocked him flying, and he's, you know, he wasn't well anyway. He's quite weak because he lost a lot of blood, and he really needs his blood because of the blood magic. And when he sort of comes to, he's handcuffed to the bed. And she's sat on a chair, and he's saying, "You need to give me the stone, you need to give me the stone." And he's trying to explain to her how evil it is and what's happening and everything, and she don't believe him, obviously. And then she says, "Well, you know, can anybody follow us or whatever?" And he says, no, you're safe, there's only me that can do this, forgetting about the other guy who can do it. And he manages to get into the flat as well. They decide, luckily they're out the flat. It's like a room in an inn. And they've gone because he comes clean and explains to her what it's all about. But she's not surprised about the magic.
Yeah.
You know, because there's something about her that, you know, and she never cares about people, but she cares about this guy. She cares that he was injured. She goes to help him, and she's thinking, "I don't do things like this. This is not me," you know. And this other guy finds the way to the inn and kills her friend, murders him, and she obviously wants to get him back, and she's determined to get him. And they sort of make a good team, and they decide that they're going to try and stop the king and queen, the White King and Queen, who were brother and sister incidentally, from taking over each of the parallel universes, because they just want to make it one big black one, because they are genuinely evil. And that's basically the story, but there is so much in it. There's not really funny bits, but there are one or two lighter moments. You see how not them two, but how the other guy, who's the same as Kel, influences his brother. So his brother's sort of in a trance, and they manage to kidnap Kel. But they can't help doing that because they're in this trance. They've been force, they're possessed, as it
Yeah.
were. And the king and the queen are not, you know. She dresses up and goes to the ball, and she sees the king and queen. She says, "Oh, I'm looking for Cal," because she's dressed as a man. They think she's a man, even because she's such a good pickpocket. She always dresses as a man, so they don't know it's a woman. So they're looking for a man. So any police or law people that see her, they don't think she's the one that they're calling, you know, the pickpocket who's nicking everything and everything. She's so clever, and she dresses up in this gorgeous male outfit, and she goes up to the king and queen, who think that she's a male because she's got this hat, you know, like a musketeer hat type thing.
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, I was looking for Cal," and they're going, "He's okay," and they're sort of definitely possessed. She's thinking there's something wrong with these two, and the brother and sister have actually made them all like that. They've got this, they're all wearing like these pendants that are possessing them and that. But it's very good, and it's not the sort of sci-fi thing you normally read about, because
Would I like it, do you reckon?
I think you will definitely like it. I'll just read a bit of it, and as I say, there's more than one book, and if I remember rightly, this is the first book of it.
Yeah.
And I think the two, I think these two are the next ones. Yeah, Kel, and she's Lila, her name. Delilah is her name. But it says, Kel is one of the last travellers, magicians with a rare ability to travel between parallel universes, connected by one magical city. There's Grey London, without bet. Kel wore a very peculiar coat. It had neither one side, which would be conventional, nor two, which would be unexpected, but several, which was, of course, impossible. So, you know, and it tells you the first thing he did whenever he stepped out of one London and into another was take off the coat and turn it inside out once or twice or even 3 times until he found the side he needed. And it's so he would fit in with whichever London he was at. So it is really a good book. I'll definitely give it 5 out of 5 because everything in it is interesting. Even the clothes they wear when they're doing a description of what she wears and that, it's good.
That's good. I can't wait to read that then.
Yeah.
I haven't read that yet, so.
I know.
Thank you. So, my first book that I'll be reviewing, or partly reviewing, because I really didn't have a good reading month this month, and I think the books I chose this month have been quite disappointing. Like, I won't lie, most of them have been. The first book I'll be reviewing is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. So I heard such good things about it, but this isn't kind of my vibe. So what happens is the book is centred around 2 main characters. Magnolia, who is a London socialite, and then you've got BJ, who is rich as well, but he's from a very different lifestyle. Him and Magnolia go way back, they've got loads of history. And this is about them going to like university, and they're together at this point, so they're boyfriend and girlfriend. But then the characters are so boring and so what's the word, like, you know what's coming.
Obvious what's
coming. Yeah, so
so
obvious, but boring as well. Look, most of the time I just wanted to throw the book up at the wall. So BJ ends up cheating on Magnolia, and he's done it quite a few times. So they're on, they're off, they're on, they're off.
Oh, right.
So at university they're sleeping in the same bed, but they're not allowed to touch. Magnolia won't allow them to touch. Okay? But she's trying to make him jealous because she gets loads of fake boyfriends. But one of the boyfriends, we find out at the end, is he going to treat her better than BJ is or not? And for me, I just found them, you know, the book wasn't my vibe, and it's just this one whole story throughout. They're on, and then they're off, and then they're on, and then they're off. And it's just that thing where he keeps cheating on her, and she keeps forgiving him and taking him back, and then it's happening again. And then she stoops so low as to go with fake boyfriends to try and make him jealous. And then I got like 3/4 of the way through, and I just couldn't read anymore because this isn't the type of book I like.
Yeah.
I don't really like these lovey-dovey, romancy ones. I mean, I'll read it to an extent, don't get me wrong, I do like it, but something needs to happen, and this doesn't grip me at all. Like, I'll go to the first page, and I just found it quite... This is number 1. So the chapters are like Magnolia, BJ, so it's from their point of view.
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay? So, number 1, it goes, I like this. He tugs on my dress, coming up behind me. Black Amari Thrasher jeans, extra torn obviously, black Vans, and the black and white raglan tee from Givenchy. Automatically, even though I knew that was quite boring, it didn't grip me from the first page. No. But I tried to carry on reading as much as I could, because I've heard...
You think, is it going to...
Yeah, is it going to improve? But it didn't, because it's expected what's going to happen. You can kind of guess from the characters that, you know, this is going to happen. So they're sleeping in the same bed, he's still cheating on her, and she's got a fake boyfriend, and then it happens all over again. I'm like, this is a boring story, and there's five books in this series, and it's like, what's going to happen the next one? But I don't know what's happened at the end anyway, so I couldn't spoil it for you, because I put it down and I'm like, right, I've got to move on to the next, because this is... It took me a while to get through this, Joe, as you know. I just kept putting it down, and I wasn't liking to put it... I can't get my words out. I wasn't planning on picking it back up, or wasn't looking forward to picking it back up, that's what I mean. And I tried to, and then I persevered for a while, and then I remember saying to Joe, I've got to start the next book, I can't finish this one. So I didn't finish this one, so I don't actually know what's happened at the end with the fake boyfriend that she's with, but I'm like, I can't read another they're on and they're off. So, yeah. This isn't my type, and for me, I mean, I'm 34 this year, this isn't the type of book I'm going to read anyway. This is for a very younger audience. This is a young adult book, I think. Even though from the pictures at the back, on the back cover, I think
sort of like a cosmopolitan magazine.
It gives a lot away. So it says, how many loves do you get in a lifetime? She is a beautiful, self-involved and mildly neurotic London socialite. He is Britain's most photographed bad boy who broke her heart. But Magnolia Parks and BJ Ballantyne are meant to be, aren't they? Question mark. That, to me, already screams a lot. This isn't your type of book, Kim.
But then again, it can give a false... Because if I just read that, I think, oh, I wonder if this is a crime.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if something happened.
That's what I was expecting, that one of them was going to die in school.
Yeah.
But no.
And one would get the blame or something, yeah.
And it says, there we go. How many loves do you get in a lifetime? How many people do you get to call yours? There are all sorts of loves in this world. Not all of them, but most of them are beautiful. Some are old, some are noble, and some are brave. Others are dishonourable and weak and make you so by association. Some are low whisper on a sombre night. Some are maddening. Some you can't ignore. They slow burn inside of you. Never quite going out completely, but you're too scared to dare try to fan that flame. Some loves you pretend you don't feel, even when you can. Even when you know you do, even if he's the first thing you can think of in the morning, even if he's like a match in the darkened room of your heart. Because loving something how you love him is a painful love that puts rocks in your pockets and melancholy in your eyeballs. And if time has taught you anything, it's that it doesn't matter, you'll love him forever anyway. Yeah, so to me, that's already screaming.
That's not even...
Doormat.
Yeah.
You're just going to let him get away with anything because...
That's more in that period.
Yeah, so if you've read this and you've loved it, forgive my opinion, but it is just my opinion. I'm not saying it's a terrible book, I'm just saying I didn't have a very good June month anyway for reading, and I wasn't kind of in the right mindset to read it, so probably again if I picked it up later in the year or next year I might have different thoughts on it, because obviously people go through phases, don't they?
Well, we had a really bad, I mean even with that book, all the books I've read, you know, I can read it in no time at all, but this took me ages to read because we were both in a slump, weren't we?
Yeah, I think we've read that much that we're in a slump.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, we will. We want to carry on. But yes, from what I've read of this book, I'd give it 2 stars out of 5.
Oh, right.
I don't recommend
It's
you
not
read
one I
this.
would read
No,
anyway.
I was going to say, I don't know what, because this was on the reading list and this is one of the 19 that I won in February in that raffle, so I want to get around to reading them before I buy any more.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got 2 there that Joe's got, but I've got the first 2 that we're reading next month that I've already brought. I haven't read them 2 yet, but I'm going to read 1 to 4.
Yeah.
Because I love them books anyway, so
Yeah,
I'm looking for
they
them.
are
I'm
good.
so like energetic about reading them that I
Yeah.
can't wait to read them. But this, I was just like, it's that thing, isn't it, where it's hyped up that much,
Yes.
and then you read it and you
Yes.
let down by you.
You really
But people are, oh my god, I need to get this, 5 stars out of 5, and I've got all 5 of them on my wish list on Amazon, and I'm going to take the others off because I don't
Yes.
think I want to read them. But again, if I pick this up later in the year and I
You
like
might
it,
enjoy it.
I
Depends
might
on
do.
the frame
But,
of mind.
yeah.
It'll probably have to be next year.
Well, because we've got the rest
so
of this
much,
year
yeah.
planned with like where we're
Sitting
going
reading
and
up,
things,
yeah, yeah.
and what we're reading. But yeah, I don't know whether I want to keep it or give it to the charity shop because I want to give it a fair go. But I'll redistribute everything on my bookshelf anyway, and if I don't end up putting it
You
back
could
on
always,
there.
you know, when you got no reading to do for
Try and
anything
pick it up,
specific, just
yeah.
pick it up because you know you haven't got to do it. It might help.
So that was Magnolia Parks, guys.
My second book, again, we've had a real slump in June with reading, was The Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I had problems reading it. I had to make myself read it, but it is a good book. That's the trouble.
It is. I can't wait to watch the show either.
Basically, when this is set, and as I understand it, this was her very first book that she wrote, and it's really good. The first one is for you, for a mum and dad. The first one is for you, and it is a good book. It's just it took me ages to read because of being in the slump, and like an author has writer's block.
Yeah.
We sort of had reading block. It's set like 5 years before a girl, Andy Bell, was murdered, and the person that was accused of murdering her was her boyfriend, Sal Singh. The police know he did it, everybody knew he did it. The thing is, Pippa, who's doing an extra school thing, yeah, she chooses that murder, and she's given certain rules. The teacher says to her, you can't go near the family, you know, to ask them, because it's going to be very sensitive. You can't do this, you can't do this. And she says, yes, I understand. So she goes out and does precisely that. She goes to the brother of Sal and knocks on the door, and she is all these locks going back because obviously the family have had a bad time. He's been bullied and everything. The parents were scared to go out and everything. And he opens, you know, gingerly opens the door, and she introduces herself, and she says that she's doing this extracurricular for school, and she's decided to do about the murder. And he says, yeah, sort of thing, you know, he's quite guarded. And she says, I don't think your brother did it. And he says, okay, we'll meet Friday or something. Now, he just said it to get her away from the door because he doesn't know that she's serious. And she turns up, and he says, I'm surprised you turned up. She's told you I don't believe he did it. And her aim is to prove that he didn't do it. And she works so fast, and she pretends to be other people and contacts the girl who, Andy, contacts the best friends of this girl. And so people's names have been blanked out because obviously you're not allowed to have that. And she read this, and she got friendly with Sal's brother, and he said that he tried to find a way of proving his brother's innocence, and so they decide they're going to work together and prove that Sal was innocent. And it goes on like that. She does what the police didn't do, and they didn't investigate properly. It turns out that Sal was, he was a lovely lad. Everybody loved him. He was kind, he was considerate. And Andy was not the nice person that they sort of preached her as. She was a bully. and she always wanted the attention. And they didn't even find her body. So, you know, her first thought is that Andy's still alive. And she's looking at all these witness statements or whatever. And Sal was supposedly with their friend Max and a couple of girls of her friends. And they all said that he left at 12:15 at night, which is when he genuinely left. But then they go back on that and they tell the police that he left at 10:15. So before, he wouldn't have had time to kill her. But when they change their minds and tell the police, actually no, he just asked us to confirm it, that's the that's the cruncher of it. And she looks into it and she investigates into it. There are a few people that don't believe he did it. And she starts getting threatening letters.
Yeah.
She'll get a text on her phone from Anonymous telling her, you know, if she's not careful, she'll be next, sort of thing. And she'll get messages and letters and everything. And she finds out who actually killed Andy. Andy did die. But that she didn't die with the first person who she finds out who attacked Andy, because they were having an affair and Andy could have ruined this person. But he thought he'd killed her, but he hadn't. He'd knocked her out and she sort of come to, and she went somewhere and a different person killed her. And Pippa finds out who did it, and
wow.
they managed to clear Sal's name. But there is a lot in there, and no way am I going to say who actually made her initial injury, where she'd got concussion. She'd got concussion. And this guy who thought he killed her at first then saw her walking down the road a couple of weeks later, and he'd had this girl imprisoned somewhere, and then it turns out it wasn't Andy, it's just somebody who looked like her. And but he hadn't killed her, he just caused her to have concussion, but somebody else had killed her. And you would never know who it was until she did all this investigating, but it's really, really good. It did take me ages. In fact, I'll just give you the synopsis and then I'll tell you how long it took me to read it. The case is closed. 5 years ago, schoolgirl Andy Bell was murdered by Sal Singh. The police know he did it, everyone in town knows he did it. But having grown up in the same small town that was consumed by the murder, Pippa Fitzamobi isn't so sure. When she chooses the case as a topic for her final year project, she starts to uncover secrets that someone in town desperately wants to stay hidden. And if the real killer is still out there, how far will they go to keep Pip from the truth? So it is very good. I do give this a 5
Ooh.
out of 5. Yeah,
I'm excited to read that. Is it good? Yeah.
It is good. It's ever so good. It's a trilogy.
Yeah, and now all three of them are in Waterstones.
Goody. So you got Killjoy and Good Girl, Bad Blood, and As Good as Dead. So we've got to get them. Definitely got to get them.
I can't wait to read that one.
Well, she's good. We enjoyed her last one, didn't we? So yeah, you're going to enjoy that.
Thank you. I can't wait.
I started that. Let me see now. Or is that in the other one?
Have you started using that one yet?
Yeah. Oh dear.
Is it a lot better for your writing and stuff?
Oh, you know, it's. I'm a horrible writer.
No, you're not.
I am.
Nice writing.
Oh, I haven't. I started that book, Good Girl's Guide to Murder, on the 20th of June. Actually, I finished this one on the 21st of June, so I didn't do too badly. But I did have to keep, I took me reading it all night. But the other one, Darker Shade of Magic. I started that on the 8th of June and finished it on the 19th of June because I really couldn't, it was really difficult to read because I was in that slump.
Yeah.
So that I've got 2 5 out of 5s. It's a really good book. When you find out who killed her and you find out who injured her initially, she was selling drugs and stuff, so she wasn't the goody-goody that everybody painted her as. And Pippa finds all that out, and of course she's getting all these threatening letters as well.
Well, I can't wait to read it. Like I said, I don't know when I'm going to read it because we've got this year full already. But
we have.
I'll keep this one. I want to read it.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so the funny thing about the next book is I'm going to show you a picture because I started to read the wrong book at first. So this is what I thought I needed to read.
Yes.
And this is what I should have read.
They're very similar.
It's because of the cover.
Yeah.
I will put the cover here of what I read, which is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. That because it was always on my mind for something. Like I need to read the blue book with the daisies on or with the flowers on.
Yeah.
And this is what I should have read. The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. So, because obviously I drive to and from work, and last week the M42 was closed, so it took me the long way around. So it was taking me about 45 minutes to get to and from work. So I was listening to this one on Audible while I was driving. And then when I looked in my bag and I saw this book, I'm like, oh, I've read the wrong book. So then I started to read this one. But so this review is going to be about 2 books because Joe knows I didn't finish this one anyway, which is a good job because I've read this one. Does that make sense? So, anyway, I will do that. But they're very similar, aren't they? They're very similar.
They are very similar. I mean, they're flowers on a blue background.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. Especially if you're just glancing at them.
So, I listened to Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. And it's quite a good book. The one thing I will say about it is I don't like the narrator at all, both of the female and the male narrator.
Who narrates it?
What was her name? I'll put the names here.
Okay.
They're American anyway, and I don't really like American narrators just because I've been brought up listening to British people narrate and our television and everything. But even if I shouldn't say I don't like American narrators because I listen to, we watch films all the time, don't we?
Yeah, but that's different.
Some of them I can, vibe with, but her voice was just not it. I'm sorry, she shouldn't have narrated this book. Anyway, this book centres around Naomi Witt and Tina Witt, who are twin sisters. Right. Okay, Naomi Witt is about to get married, but she climbs out of the window of the church. And the sisters called her and said, "Can you meet me in Knockamout?" Like, that is the area that they live.
Okay.
Knockamout, and that's a Knockamout series.
Okay.
And so she goes to meet her sister. Now, her sister's this type of person where...
So she goes to meet her sister on her wedding day?
Yeah, not long after. And she's got a wedding dress in her suitcase.
Okay.
So, her sister's the type of person where she's always in trouble, always needing something, always needing money. So she goes to Knockamout to meet her sister, and she stops in this coffee shop. Her sister's not there, but she really wants a coffee anyway, so she stops to get a coffee. But everyone's treating her like crap, like, speaking to her like, yeah, the last time you was in here, you was causing trouble. And she goes, I just want a coffee. And she doesn't understand why she's being treated this way. And then she sees a picture on the wall and it's her twin sister Tina.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it's because they're identical twins. Yes. So people think she's Tina, but she's not. So
does she explain?
Yeah, eventually when they stop talking and stop treating her like crap, but people find it hard to believe. So when she's getting a coffee from Justice, who's the waiter at the coffee shop, who she absolutely adores and loves because it makes the best coffee in the world, somebody called Knox, who's a big, tall male guy called the Viking. Not called the Viking, he obviously is called Knox, but she calls him the Viking because he's got the beard, he's got muscles, he's got tattoos, and he's built like a Viking. He storms into the coffee shop because obviously people have been looking, saying, oh, Tina's in the coffee shop, because she's caused trouble for Knox in the past. and she left apparently on really bad terms with him, and he doesn't want her to come back, so he says, leave, knock him out now, leave, knock him out, all this and all that, and he's shouting in her face, and he won't let her say, I'm not Tina, I'm Naomi. But she fancied him anyway. Look, he's taken her breath away and she can't speak. And then when he realises that she's not Naomi, because Justice is trying to say that's not Naomi.
No,
sorry, that's
not
not Tina. That's Naomi. He's already made his mind up because she's really pretty. She's really beautiful, and he fancies her and she fancies him.
But if they're identical twins, then the troublemaker is going to look as pretty and beautiful.
Not necessarily, because she's hard in drugs and alcohol and stuff.
Oh, right.
So yeah. So they're fancying each other, but he's so mad at not Tina, and that's how she's known around the town now, is not Tina, not Naomi. She's called not Tina. That he's so angry and that he can't get over the fact that he absolutely fancies this woman. So she gets her coffee and she tells Justice, oh, this is really good coffee, I've been waiting all day for this. And then she goes out into the coffee shop. She goes out of the coffee shop into the forecourt, and they're still at it, they're still rowing. And she thought, for God's sake, will you let me speak? So yeah, the sister has taken the car and it's got all of her stuff in, and she's literally stranded in Knockamout. She's got nowhere to turn to, and Knox is so angry for her not being Tina that he does offer to help her. Okay, so he lives on this ranch, and behind his house you've got this little cottage. But first, before they go there, she goes, I need to go and get some stuff. Can you take me to what's it called, a motel? Well, actually first she refuses to get in because she doesn't like him that much for being that horrible to her, that she goes, I'll walk. And he said, you can't walk, it's that hot and it's that far away, like 2 or 3 miles down the road, that you wouldn't make it. So they go to the motel anyway. She eventually gets in the car. She goes to the motel and the door's ajar. So she realises her motel room's already been broken into. So they open the door, and sat on the bed is this young girl called Waylay.
What's she doing there?
She's called Waylay, she's 11 years old. And it turns out that Tina's abandoned her daughter for her sister to look after. So after robbing her sister blind, the car, the phone, the money, she's also left her to raise her daughter.
Oh God.
So Waylay's there, but she's really smart, young girl, and she always goes to the library. Like, she's really known in the area because that's where they live, but she goes to the library and helps people with technical issues fix their phones, their laptops and everything, and she goes into the library and does that, and she likes reading and stuff, and she's got like this hard exterior, but underneath she's like a girly girl. And Naomi's never ever heard that she's got a niece or anything, and she's 11 years old, and Tina's never told her that she's got a niece, but now she just sprung her daughter on her, abandoning her in this town with her sister who doesn't even know about her. So she's really scared because she's got no money, and how can she bring up this girl? So this is when at first she refuses for Knox to come in the room because she doesn't want him to see the wedding dress, because she still kept it because eventually she really likes the dress. She does want to get married to somebody.
but not to the guy she bought the dress for.
Not to the guy she bought the dress from, and he's really rich and really posh.
So she did a Rachel Green in Friends.
Yeah, she climbed out the window of the basement. Anyway, she collects her things. They go back to his. She is staying in the house at the back, in the little cottage. And all she keeps saying to him is, what am I going to do for rent? I can't afford anything, I've got no money, I need to contact the police. And he said, well, Liza J, who owns a house, would like to go for dinner at 7 o'clock tonight. And you can speak to Liza J, she's a landlord, X, Y and Z. So they go for dinner. And Knox's brother's there. Knox is a police officer.
Right, so
he sees Naomi as well. And they're both like fancying her. But they're both the type of people where they don't get along, even though they're brother and brother. they're always fighting, physical fight, like breaking each other's
Siblings
nose.
are like that, aren't they?
But it's over Naomi.
Oh.
Because Nash knows that Knox likes Naomi, and Knox knows that Nash likes Naomi, but Knox is this really big, strong Viking type guy, and Nash is a police officer, so they've both got advantages and disadvantages. And Nash is there, and tensions are high, and you know, Naomi he's already being quite harsh to Knox, because he's being harsh to her, but he won't tell her that he fancies her. He doesn't want to give that up, but it's really weird because the language used, I can't repeat it on here, but it's like, how can I even be mad at this girl when she makes my hard?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
it's
quite explicit. So they're at dinner anyway. While Lisa and Naomi's there, Nash, Knox, Liza J and Naomi, and they go to Liza J's dinner party. She hasn't even started cooking the dinner yet, so obviously Naomi's helping them do it. And it turns out that Liza J raised Nash and Knox, and they've lived there all their life. Their parents died when they were young, and she's had to raise them, so she's their grandma. And she owns a little cottage behind Knox's house. And Naomi keeps asking, oh, you know, you were going to have to come to an arrangement about rent and that, and eventually it comes out that she says, well, you don't have to pay anything in rent, you can stay there for free, just do the cottage up, make it nice, clean and tidy for me anyway, because I'll never get round there, so it would help me out a lot, so with you staying there, as long as you keep it clean, that's fine. So so that's really good. And then when they're back at the cottage now the next day, she goes outside, she's on a porch, she goes outside and she sees him naked.
Okay.
She sees him naked. He's like having a wee in a bush. Because it's his house and he's not used to people not being there.
No,
he's
not used to toilet.
Being there, I don't know. And it just affirms her feelings, how much she fancies him. And then he sees her in a dress, in a sundress, and he goes, oh, I wonder what's under that dress. And then I was getting so awkward, I'm like, oh God, imagine if people in the traffic can hear this, because I have to
oh God, yeah, because it's audio.
And I'm like, oh God, what do I do? And I carried on, and obviously it turns out that they eventually find Naomi's car. There's no bag in there, the money's gone.
Obviously.
She calls a bank to get new cards.
She'd stopped the card, presumably.
She'd stopped the card. She calls the bank to get new cards and things. The car's found at a scrapyard. Tina's nowhere to be found. So she's done a runner basically. Naomi eventually gets a job at this place called Honky Tonk. It's a restaurant come inn, come pub. Kind of like Hooters, but it's called Honky Tonk. She doesn't know that Knox owns it. And when he finds out she's there, because he's driving him crazy being around this woman, he's horrible to her again. And he goes, finish your shift, but once you're done, you don't come back again. You probably won't be able to do it anyway. And he sends us this really horrible client. And he's one of these clients where he's this really creepy man and he's always ogling women and trying to touch women. And he doesn't think she can handle it. So he sends her over there, he goes, go and deal with that table. And she can handle herself. And she handles it well. But because this guy's going to touch her and he fancies the pants off her, he goes over to cause a fight, like don't touch her. But then don't send her over there. And then because she works in human resources where she's from, she's not used to being on her feet all this time, so she goes, don't worry, I won't come back anyway. My legs are so tired. But because they've made the most money they've ever made in one night, he buys everybody shots and stuff. And he goes, how are you going to get home? She goes, I'll ride my bike. And he goes, no you won't, I've already thrown your bike in the back of my truck anyway, so I'll drive you home. So they're being horrible to each other because they fancy each other, and she's being horrible to him because of how he's reacting, but he's being horrible to her because he fancies her.
But they don't want to let on to each other.
They don't want to let on to each other that they...
Games.
Yeah, and it's a really good story. Waylay gets used to having an auntie there that she never knew about. Naomi gets used to Waylay, who's actually she's a really nice girl, really good girl. Doesn't like vegetables at all. She doesn't eat anything green, anything fruit, anything vegetable. She always eats pizza, has Pop-Tarts and things, because that's how her mum raised her, so that's what she's...
So she says she didn't like some at her mum.
It's not just that, it's like her mum didn't care.
Yeah.
She let the girl do what she wanted, so because of her living like on next to nothing, because of how her mum lived, they'd get the cheapest thing, which would be like, I don't know, pizza or something, or a Dollar Tree, something. And usually take-out food's cheaper than going and cooking it and buying it yourself. So the girl, when Naomi tries to introduce sprouts, and I think the girl turns up her face, and when they're at Liza J's having dinner and there's tomatoes and salad with the chicken and that, she goes, don't put any of that on my plate, I'm not eating it. She doesn't like anything like that, but Naomi,
even though she's never eaten it.
Exactly. They get used to each other. They live in that cottage for a while, and eventually Knox and Naomi do tell each other that they like each other. They never find Tina though, they don't know where she is. And I think in Things We Never Got Over, that's a 3-series book, series as well.
So at some point you're going to find out what's happened to Tina.
So Knox and Naomi are together, and they're actually trying for a baby, but they go through infertility, and then I don't want to say what happens at the end, but you can kind of see where it's going, and then that's it. But she gets on well with everybody, but the way she's treated at the beginning, and for quite a long time actually as well, people treat her like she's Tina and she's not, but they don't refer to her as her name, they just call her not Tina. But yeah, it's really good. I just didn't like the narrator, so for me it only gets a 4 out of 5. Now that's not anything to do with the plot of the story, even though at parts I was cringing and I had second-hand embarrassment.
Yeah.
Sometimes I was like, But the deducted star is just because I listened to it via Audible and not the actual physical book, because it was easier for me when I'm driving to and from work. And I tend to do that once a month with at least one book. I'll listen to it and I'll read the others. But yeah, that one gets a 4 out of 5 from me. The next one, which actually physically read, or started to read, was The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. It says here, a courageous, necessary and beautiful book. I do get it, but because of the nature of the book, I couldn't finish reading it. It's just really hard hitting. And I'm going to read the actual back of the book first before I get into my thoughts on it. And it says, all Eden wants is to rewind the clock, to live that day again. She would do everything differently, not laugh at his jokes or ignore the way he was looking at her that night, and she would definitely lock her bedroom door. But Eden can't turn back time, so she buries the truth, along with the girl she used to be. She pretends she doesn't need friends, doesn't need love, doesn't need justice, but as her world unravels, one thing becomes clear. The only person who can save Eden is Eden. So the book starts off with 14-year-old Eden, so her brother's Kaylin. So they finish their dinner, she's in the bedroom, and the friend comes in her bedroom and he does something unthinkable that shouldn't happen. And in the morning, her mom comes in, and her mom just thinks that she's miscalculated when her period is, and she tries to tell her mom, and her mom won't listen because her mom's over talking her, so she can't get her sentences out. And by the time she goes to tell her mom Kevin, her mom's already got the bed sheets off and say, go and have a shower, clean yourself up and come downstairs for breakfast. So she already hasn't told the person she should tell, which is her mom. And she comes down for breakfast and she sees that Kevin's at the breakfast table, and she's just staring at this guy. And then obviously her brother, being her brother, makes a joke of it and goes, what are you staring at, what's in his face? Hello, what are you looking at? And Kevin can't look at her.
No, because he knows what he's doing wrong.
And then everyone's saying, come and sit down, but she's just staring at this guy. And then she eventually goes to sit down, but she feels sick. She can't eat any of her breakfast, and they go out to. Kaylin and Kevin go out, and Addie is on the swing in the back garden because she's been out there for a while. And Kaylin comes out, and then obviously with this happening, it's changed her personality. So she still can't tell her brother, and she really wants to. And she goes to tell him, and she says, "I don't want you to go back to university. I want you to stay here with me. I need you. I need you." And he's getting really like frustrated with her because she's never been like this before. They've always been really close, brother and sister, you know. And he says, "Well, there's nothing for me here, you know. Being at university enables me to get the job I want to do. I declined the scholarship for this university, so I have to go here." And she goes, "No, I need you. Don't go, please don't go." And she says, "You're always with Kevin. I don't like that you're always with Kevin." And then obviously a switch triggers in his brain then, and she goes, "Well, yeah, is that because you always fancy him? We've all heard about the way you look at him and the way you look at each other." So she's getting like gaslit into thinking that people think that she is doing something when you're friends. I think, you know, you can't even look at someone the wrong way and they think you're going out or you fancy that person, but it's not. That's not the case at all. He's done something unthinkable that shouldn't have happened, and then he's trying to fob it off as, well, nobody knows it's happened, but if anything came out, they'd just fob it off anyway as well. You were laughing and joking all night anyway. So she goes angry with him. She goes off into a room and she can't sleep in a bed that she that it happened in. So she's screaming in a pillow that's on the floor. She gets a sleeping bag and she sleeps on the floor, but she can't sleep. She just sobs and sobs and sobs for hours and hours until she's got no tears left basically. And she gets up in the morning ready for school, and her friend notices something different, and she's just like quiet and she's really reserved, and she goes to tell her friend. They're best friends and they've been friends for a while. And she goes to tell her friend, but she can't bring herself to say the words. But they're in the canteen and they're getting bullied, and there's people behind her throwing peas and, you know, throwing things at her, and it goes in her friend's hair, and then the peas go on her jacket, and instead of standing up for her friend or anyone else standing up for them, she just runs off into the library. And she speaks to the librarian and she goes, "I don't ever want to go down there for lunch again." She goes, "I can't face that, it's all the time, I'm being bullied all the time. Is there anything I can do up here with you?" And because the library are at their capacity for volunteers, the librarian says, "Unfortunately no. I was thinking though of setting up this book club, but you have to get 6 people to join, and everything to do with this book club you have to do. It's not my club, it's your club. I'll just be here to like supervise and officiate it." So she does get the people round to join the book club. One of their friends as well. Mara joins, and then there's this other guy, Michael I think his name is, but he's quite different. Like, he's got a different personality. He's got black hair with blue tips, and quite alternative as well. And Mara really fancies him, but Eden can't. She doesn't like this guy, and they've got really different opinions. And even when he talks, she's just thinking in her head like, "I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy."
Because of Kevin.
Just because now she doesn't like men.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's getting that vibe where she doesn't like men. So they're walking out the library as well one day, and one of the jocks is running down the corridor because Mara and Eden are part of band as well, so they're already band geeks, they're already bullied. They're part of band, so Eden's got her clarinet in her hand, and this guy's running, doesn't see her and knocks into her, and even though he's saying sorry, all she's got in herself is rage, and she really wants to get her clarinet case and beat him with it and, you know, do things to him where he wouldn't get up off the floor again. And Mara, when they're back at hers for a sleepover, she goes, "I'm sick of being bullied, you know, I can't stand it anymore. I've got really long hair. Every day I come home from school, there's things in my hair and, you know, it's not nice." So she buys this shocking red hair dye, and Mara dyes her hair. She gets Eden to cut it, and even though Eden says, "I've never done this before, so if I cut it and it might not look nice, it's got to stay like that," and Mara goes, "Do it, I trust you, I trust you." And Eden cuts Mara's hair and she actually really likes it. And Eden and Mara change personalities like overnight. They just change. They're smoking, they're getting up to bad things, and then Kevin starts a rumour that Eden is a slut, and her brother believes him. Yeah,
nice brother.
Her brother believes him, and then it's not until, so I got 3/4 of the way and then I couldn't read anymore. It's not until I forgot her name then, Eden tells her brother what happened. They fall out, but the rumour's already lodged in people's brains. You know, at first they don't believe her, and then I turned it off then because I'm like, I can't read this. A 14-year-old girl, that happened to her. The family don't believe her. She's gone through life, you know, her life's a downward spiral. She's getting into smoking, she's getting into the wrong crowd. Her and Mara aren't friends anymore. Her and Mara aren't friends anymore, you know, they're not nice people. And obviously, what happened to her changed her overnight because it would anybody else. But it's really hard-hitting book, and for me, I was like, I'm not in the mindset to read a book like this anyway. I understand why it's been written.
Quite a heavy book.
Yeah, I understand why it's been written. I really do. Because these things need to be spoken about, don't they? If people need help, they need help. They shouldn't ever feel that, you know, there's nobody there to help them. The resources weren't there for Eden to be helped. Her parents, you know, always treated her differently to Caelan. Caelan was always spoiled because they said he needed the stuff at university, he needed money, and she wanted to not wear glasses, she wanted contacts now like her friend Mara, and they said no, you don't need them. And she goes, but I'm getting bullied, I want to change what happens, this is me changing. And they say no, so she storms up to her room and they say, she hears the conversation where they say she's spoiled and X, Y and Z, and then she storms down and she screams at her parents, and she's never done that before. And she says, I hate you, I'm always treated differently.
So couldn't they sort of think she's never done that before? What's the problem?
Well, they just think she's a teenager being a teenager. You know, at school, you're in the wrong crowd and that. So yeah, it was just really hard for me to finish, and I think the last couple of weeks I've had, I haven't in the right mindset to read it, so...
Seems like quite a heavy book.
Yeah, I did read online as to what happens in the end, so I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I won't be rereading this book. I'll be giving this straight to charity shop because this isn't one I want to read again. I don't want to hear those words again. I don't want to read those words again. Some of the words were popping off the page to me, like, you know, because I was thinking, has that really been written? Did that really happen? Will people not believe this young girl? So I found out what happened in the end, and even though justice is served, she has to go through all these hurdles and her life be at rock bottom for people to believe her, and it's not a nice book. So unfortunately I'm not going to even give it a rating because I didn't finish it, I don't like it. Whereas Magnolia Park, that's probably one I would read again at a different time. This is something that I'm just going to give to the charity shop because unfortunately I didn't like it.
Is there any disclaimer to let you know?
I don't think it's got trigger warnings in or anything, because you've got your copyright page there, and then the next one it goes to you. To every you who has ever known the feeling of needing new ways to be, and then the book starts, look.
Oh no.
So there's no trigger warnings or anything in this book.
That's bad, considering it's so explicit.
Yeah.
My last book is Lessons in Chemistry by Garmus. Now, I've almost finished this book. It's set in the late 1950s, early 1960s, and Elizabeth Zott is a scientist, but because of the period of time, women are looked on as not being clever. They're looked on as to wash up, look after kids, you know, that's their function. And she used to go to Cambridge University in America, and she left there for a similar reason as to the other book. Now there's only a small passage of that, but there is no trigger warning on it, so I did mark it down because of that. There are one or two funny bits in it. Elizabeth meets this scientist. They don't hit it off. He's actually famous because he found something, you know, he was able to find, you know, add something, and, you know, he made it all famous, and he's known as holding a grudge. People look at him as holding a grudge, so they always let him get away with everything because they don't want him holding a grudge. And she keeps asking for some beakers, you know, the beakers they use for experiments and that, and they keep saying, oh, you know, you can't have them. And she goes up and she sees these beakers in this scientist room, Calvin's room, and she takes them. She said, you're not using them all. So she takes them off him, and he's quite shocked, and they start talking, and he sort of listens to her, and it doesn't matter that she's a woman. She finds out that she's pregnant. She didn't realise at first, even though she's a scientist, but the secretary, because she's left the university and she works for a special company, a big company, well-known company, and the secretary is nasty and jealous of her, so she's always saying nasty things. And she sort of says, well, for somebody who's supposed to be clever, you'd think you'd know, she's, because she's worked out this woman's pregnant. So Elizabeth tells Calvi that she's expecting. And even though they'd not planned to have kids, and even though they'd not planned to get married, even though he asked her all the time, and she kept saying no, they're quite pleased really, but they don't realise that. So she's pregnant, and he sadly ends up dying.
Mm-hmm.
Before she found out she was pregnant, they'd got a dog, and they called the dog 630 because that's when they got the dog, 630. And she teaches this dog different words, lots and lots of words, and he understands every word. So the bit I got to, the dog knows over 695 words. And he's almost human in respect that he knows what he's saying, and you get thoughts of, what the dog's thinking as well, which is quite good. And she has her daughter, and she doesn't understand what the registrar's saying because she had such terrible pain and the fact that the man that she loved is dead and wasn't with her, and she got nobody to be with her really. They asked her, she thought they said, how are you feeling? And she said, mad. But that's not what they'd asked her. Obviously they must have asked her about the child's name. So they put on the birth certificate, mad sod. So she tells everybody, because she can't actually get it changed. She wants to get it changed to Madeline, but she can't. So she says, oh, forget it, it takes too much. We'll just tell everybody your name's Madeline and that you're called Mad for short. And the little girl's taught to read long before anybody in kindergarten can read. She's very intelligent because that's the way her mom is with her. And the mother ends up getting the sack from the company because a chappie had died and they'd only kept her on really because he was so famous and carried a grudge. And so she's bringing her daughter up on her own. She ends up getting a job doing an afternoon television programme called Supper at 6. But she doesn't treat it like a normal cookery programme. She, instead of giving saying salts, she says
the chemical compound.
The chemical compound, and she everything, even the vegetables and stuff, and stuff that she's using with, she'll give all the chemical compounds, and it's a live show, but you also see it on telly. And all the women, they're writing all this down, they're really enjoying it. She won't make it sexy like what the television people want, and she'll give them the chemical compound, she'll write it out on something, so they're sort of learning as well. And it's doing really good, this. The school that her daughter goes to want to do family trees, and her daughter, who's only about 4 or 5, says during the talk with the teacher, and the teacher saying, right, this is what we've got to do, you know, I'm going to give you all a paper with a family tree on, and your mum's got to help you find out your family tree, your parents, your grandparents, your, you know, all the family, and write it all down. And during the conversation, Mad says that all humans are animals, and the teacher says no, they're not, and she has this argument. And then her supposed friend, who's only, her mother believes, is only her friend because she has no decent food to eat, so she keeps eating Mad's food, and Mad is losing weight. So Elizabeth goes to see Amanda's dad, which is this television producer, and she has a go at him, and he asks her then if she'd be willing to do this programme because he thinks she'd be good for it, but he wants her to wear sexy clothes and sort of just act like a woman, you know, making a cocktail, and she don't make cocktails, she won't make the cocktail. She changes the set. She gives everybody a bit of the set to take home. She lets them have the stuff because she needs clear to do everything. But it's really good. It's difficult to know what type of, it's not really a love story. It's a sort of mystery because during the story you find out that because Calvin always said that his parents died in a rail crash, and he was brought up by his aunt and uncle, and they died in a horrendous car crash, and he lost a sibling as well, and she lost her brother who committed suicide because he was gay, and the parents had, you know, treated him abominably. She didn't have any parents as such, really. They weren't what you would call parents. And he was brought up in a children's home. But it turns out that his biological father had money. And he went to the home one time and he gave money for science books. And that's, I mean, Calvin seemed to be a natural scientist. So the sort of mystery is finding out about her dad's family. So she's decided to do that, and she contacts, with the help of a reverend, the children's home. But it's really good. It is good. As I say, there are one or two funny bits in it where she's giving all the chemical compounds, and the producer sat there saying, when she won't say salt, and he sat there and he's thinking, can't you just say salt? And you know, she's driving him nuts, and the description, it's quite funny. But it's only one or two funny bits, like the little girl when she puts her family tree as being Amelia Earhart, Nefertiti, and that, well, technically it's true because we're all interrelated with one person, you know, that's what she's saying. And underneath she puts humans are animals and underlines it 3 times. So I'll just read the synopsis. Chemist Elizabeth Zott is not your average woman. In fact, Elizabeth Zott would be the first to point out that there is no such thing. But it's the early 1960s, and her all-male team at Hastings Research Institute take a very unscientific view of equality. Forced to resign, she reluctantly signs on as the host of a cooking show, Supper at 6. But a revolutionary approach to cooking, fueled by scientific and rational commentary, grabs the attention of a nation, and soon a legion of overlooked housewives find themselves daring to change the status quo, one molecule at a time. It's got a lot of good reviews as well. Nigella Lawson, I love lessons in chemistry and I'm devastated to have finished it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. India Night, the most charming, life-enhancing novel I've read in ages, a perfect delight. You've got loads. Richard E. Grant, absolutely unputdownable. I completely loved it. You've got the Sunday Times, the Daily Mail, Telegraph, I mean every single newspaper going, all like it. Pandora Sykes, a timeless novel, Elizabeth Zott is an iconic heroine. It's good, it is, it's not like your other cooking programmes. but I'm not sure what sort of book it is. It's definitely not actually a love story as such.
Yeah.
Really, other than she loves her daughter, obviously, and she loved Calvin. But it's more of a mystery of who his family were. Who was this mystery benefactor, which was his dad. And you find that out by one of the priests who, you know, because they've torn out a lot of pages in the science book and he complains about it.
But you can't wait to finish it, can you?
Well, I'm intrigued to find out who this... Because also there's this beneficiary who thinks that it's Mr. Zott and gives money for her to do scientific things, but she gets the sack and they use the money, and then they pinch her work and claim it. Her boss claims to be Mr. Zott.
Wow.
So it's good. There's one or two bits, like when Calvin dies, and the dog is hilarious. The dog's really good. The fact that he's taught all these different words, and he knows them, and they don't always believe him. Somebody says, "Oh, I can't find a yo-yo," so he goes and gets the yo-yo to prove I know what a yo-yo is. But it's a good book. Because of that one, other than that, it's a small paragraph, but it's in some respects very explicit, and there's no warning. I knock it down to 4.5 because it is only a small paragraph, but it's still there, and I was quite shocked to read it. But yeah, it's a good book. I haven't finished it, and I can give it 4.5 already.
That's good. Good.
So I'll definitely finish that tonight.
So now that Joe's reviewed lessons in chemistry, I'm going to review what I've read, which is only halfway through, of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. What I've read so far, I'm loving it. You need to read this, Joe, it's really, really good. It's kind of like, not sci-fi, but otherworldly. Like, this wouldn't obviously happen in real life.
Oh, right.
So it starts off with Addie LaRue. Addie is short for Adeline.
Right.
She's born in the French village of Villon. I think that's how it's said. And she's taught different things by this local woman called Estelle. Estelle teaches Addie LaRue about the gods, but you can never pray to them after dark because bad things can happen.
Oh.
Yeah, so Addie LaRue being Addie LaRue, or Addie even, she's obviously inquisitive and she's like, oh, what's going to happen? But she's the type of person where she always wants to be free. She doesn't want to follow the rules and anything like that. So when Addie's 23, she's engaged to this guy, but she doesn't truly want to be engaged to him, she wants to be free. So she thinks, what can I do? So she's praying to the gods and it's after dark. And they answer her prayers, but they're like, what do you want? What do you want to do? So they grant her a wish, and obviously the devil comes and she offers the devil a wooden ring. She's got this wooden ring, and her father, who is a woodworker, has made her this wooden ring, and it's her most prized possession. It's always with her. She offers it to the devil and he rejects it. So because he rejects it, she goes, I've got nothing else to give. She offers the devil her soul when she's finished with it.
Which is what generally happens.
For her soul, she wants to be free. So she's living eternally, but as soon as she's out of people's sight, they forget who she is. So she's invisible. So
Right.
The invisible life of Addie LaRue. So she's navigating through life, stealing, sleeping in people's apartments, because obviously when she's gone, they don't know she's been there because she's forgotten. And obviously with only her wooden ring in possession, she goes into this bookshop and she goes to steal a book. But the clerk, she gets caught by this clerk called Henry, and he doesn't do much about it, but he lets her have the book anyway that she goes to steal. And eventually, later in life, they go on a date, and she finds out that Henry doesn't forget who she is ever, and he's the only one in the world.
So he always sees her.
Yeah, he always sees her, but he doesn't know that her name's Addie. She's having to come up with different names like Emily, Emma, Lucy and things like that. But year on year, the devil keeps coming back to Addie asking, do you want to relinquish your soul? And she goes, no, I'm not done with my soul yet. So he transforms himself into Addie's daydream boy called Luce, obviously short for Lucifer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the epitome of what she wants in a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And she likes it, but she's going on a date with Henry as well.
Okay.
And
So she's going out with Henry and Lucifer.
well, she's not going out with Lucifer yet, but it's her type of person. That's who she's daydreamed of in looks and charm and things like that. But she likes Henry as well, and then she finds out that he doesn't forget who she is.
Oh.
And that's the end of part 2 that I've got to. So part 3. But it's really, really good, isn't
intriguing.
it? Okay. So I'm going to read the synopsis, okay? France in 1714, a desperate woman makes a desperate deal in the dark, a bargain to live forever but be remembered by none. So begins the invisible life of Addie LaRue, shadow muse to artists throughout history, forgotten friend, confidant and lover, slipping away with the morning light. Addie passes through life desperate only to leave a trace of herself, until the day she walks back into a small bookshop in Manhattan and meets Henry, who remembers her. After 300 years, Addie's life is restarting, but the devil never plays fair. As Henry and Addie's lives start to intertwine, they must face the consequences of the decision they've made and the prices to be paid. So the devil wants his side of the bargain.
Yeah.
But I've still got that
did they
much,
really think that the devil would play fair?
I've still got that much to read though, so I don't know anymore.
But it's sort of...
But a lot's happened in this. She's obviously made a bargain with the devil. She's prayed to the gods after dark. But even though when she was 7 years old, Estelle taught her don't ever pray to the gods after dark because bad things will happen.
Depends on the gods. Which gods?
The gods, no, but not the gods that we know. Obviously, there's different gods in the world that she's in. But yeah, she's taught about them when she's 8 years old, and she's always wanted to be different from everybody else. She's always wanted to be free, you know, live through life eternally, but
And not be answerable.
not be remembered by none.
So, on what you've read so far,
Definitely a 5 out of 5.
Really?
Yeah, I can't
Wow.
wait. It is, I'm going to say it's on put down now, but because I only have a few hours each day to
Yeah, I
read,
know.
I haven't got through it
No.
all. But I can't wait
but
to...
we've been in a slump anyway, haven't we?
Yeah, but this is one. I'm only on part 3 or 5, so I'm about to start it, and this one is part 4, sorry, The Man Who Stayed Dry in the Rain.
Wow. Sounds good.
But yeah, I think this is one that you're going to love.
Probably, because I do like the Schwab.
And that's Her Wooden Ring.
Ah, I wondered what
So
that
yeah,
was
it's short and sweet, but I'm
Yeah.
only halfway through, and I can't wait to finish the rest. And what I'm going to do when I finish the rest, I'm going to tell Joe what it was like, so we'll know what it's like, and then I'll probably do a voice, what's it called?
Message.
Not a voice message, a voice over on the video at the end, just explaining what it's like. And then if you want to do a short one on yours at the end, you don't have to. You don't have to, but we're liking it so far for what we've read.
It's good if you're giving it a 5 and you haven't
It is really
finished
good.
it. Yeah.
It's so intriguing as well.
Right, so that's our June one.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do now is tell you about July.
Yes.
Now with July, we're going to be focusing on the Lunar Chronicles. Now we've both read Cinder and Scarlet.
Yes.
Now you read them quite some time ago, didn't you?
on my e-reader when I was young.
So you're going to read these again as a refresher.
Yes.
Is the word I'm after. So she's going to be reading Cinder and Scarlet.
I might see if I've got a red bookmark as well to go with.
Yeah, oh, very good.
And they're floppy, look.
Yeah, paperbacks.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be reading Cress.
The size of that one.
I know. And Winter. Now, they're fairy tales with a difference. So Cinder is obviously Cinderella.
Yeah.
And it's not the shoe she loses, it's her foot she loses because she's half cyborg.
Cyborg. And that's
And
Red
that's
Riding Hood.
Red Riding Hood, and the guy she falls in love with is named Wolf. And Cress is Rapunzel, and Winter is obviously Snow White. Now, as you can see, these are tombs. And I'm going to be reading Cress, and I'm going to start it probably the 1st of July.
Which is Monday.
Which is Monday. So hopefully I'll finish this probably Tuesday or Wednesday.
I'm really excited to
Yeah,
read
we
these,
are
aren't
really
we?
excited to read these. And then I will read Winter, which will probably take me 3 days, 4 days, because it is so thick.
And the one I'm thinking, Joe, if we get through these quite quickly, because I'm going to finish Addie by tomorrow night. Obviously, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
how I get on
I'll
with
finish
that.
this one probably
So these
tomorrow.
are quick reads anyway, so I won't take long on these. I'm thinking if you get through these in July, and we're not at the end of July, we can get Fairest.
Yes, which is another part of the Lunar Chronicles. So we're going to be reading these, and we'll both be reviewing them.
Really excited.
I don't know whether it'll be Cinder and Cress and Scarlet and Winter, or Cinder and Scarlet, Cress and Winter, or whatever.
Just give
we're just going to
opinion.
so we're both going to be reviewing them. So hopefully these will be read before the end of July, and we'll probably have had a little dabble. Now, we did say that we've been in a bit of a slump reading wise. It was quite tough to read the books that we've been reading, even though some of them were given a 5
I
out
don't
of
think
5.
it's the nature of the book. So
No, it was just us.
The volume that we've read already.
Yeah.
We needed a mental break, and we haven't given ourselves one yet.
From one book to another to another
Constant.
to another. Yeah, and I've had a few issues health-wise and whatever, so we've really had a bad month with June. So we're going to read July, and then the plan is that we will give ourselves a bit of a break, won't we?
Even if it's a week.
Even if it's just a week or 2 weeks. But we're not going to not do anything, because we are.
We've got new content coming up, haven't we?
Yeah. We're planning on something to do that instead of reading, we'll be doing something else. So we will still do a video, but it'll be sort of connected with the book reviews, but it won't be a book review. So that's...
it'll just be kind of connected to literature or books anyway, won't it? But we're not going to sit here and do the books and
it'll just be something else that we're going to do, which hopefully will be quite
enjoyable.
enjoyable.
Let me show the size of all of these together. One sec. That one's at the bottom.
Yeah.
So this is what we're reading for July, guys.
Yeah.
One of these.
Yeah.
And potentially number 5.5, which is Fairest.
Yes. And there's another one as well called Princess, I think.
You bought them, didn't you? You haven't got them from the library?
No, I bought these. $8.99 and that was $9.99.
Because of the size of it, yeah.
Yeah, and that was $8.99. So yeah, it's going to be Cinder and Scarlet and Cress and Winter for July, and then some different in August with a book each, and we can't wait. We have been really looking forward to this, haven't we?
Yeah, I've been saying, oh God, we should come out of this slump, or these books will finish, or June will finish, because we just want to get on to the Lunar Chronicles.
I don't know why, but June was just a really bad month.
And
I think it was the health as well.
The health as well, and obviously I've got stuff going on, and you've got stuff going on, and obviously it's life, isn't it? Things happen. But I think we should have done these sooner. We should have done these in June, but because we've got so many books to get through, it doesn't help that I've won 19 books, you know, and then I won 2 more after, so I've still got books at home we haven't yet read and aren't in this year.
Yeah, and I got some more library
books. And Joe's got more library books, and then I've got some to give Joe, so I'm like, I think we've got books for the next 2 years, in all honesty, Joe.
Probably.
With what we've got planned and that.
Yeah.
But I've got to finish getting the series of what we discussed the other day.
And I've got some concerts coming up as well, which means I'll be staying.
And we've got Sarah Millican coming up.
Oh yeah.
And we've got the Killer books coming up with David Wilson as well.
Yes.
So we've got loads of content planned, potentially a few interviews here and there, because we're going to try and get some questions answered.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've got loads happening, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, we hope you enjoyed everything, guys. Sorry that this has been a little bit not the video we wanted to do today, because again, we have been in a slump. I think what it was, we just had the wrong genres of books for June as well. We should have probably brought the Lunar Chronicles forward and did different genres.
I think actually, I think it was just because of everything we were going on. So I think even if we'd had the Lunar Chronicles, we'd have had a problem reading them,
probably.
I think.
But yeah, we hope you enjoyed it anyway.
Yeah.
Please comment down below on Instagram or on Facebook. Even if you just want to say hi or pop in some recommendations or things that you've read that you haven't yet seen us read. Because as you can tell, we've got an eclectic style in regards to what we like to read. Primarily it is thrillers and crime and things like that, but we're trying to branch out and not just stick to the same thing just because we don't want to miss some exceptional books. Okay?
Which we would have done if there was some of them that we hadn't read. I would never dream of getting, Freedom at Fadden, and that was brilliant, and I'm looking forward to getting the other one, which is in the works, I think.
Yeah, there's loads. We love going to the works with the 3 for 6, don't we?
Yeah.
That doesn't help.
Oh yeah, and of course there's some murder puzzle books which we intend to get as well, and we'll talk about those. Maybe in July, maybe August or September, but they're good murder puzzle books, and there's a Cluedo one as well, so yeah,
no worries. Well, thank you for watching, guys.
Yeah,
take care and don't forget to keep reading.
Bye.